NASA has confirmed an interstellar visitor unlike anything seen before. On June 28, 2025, a faint dot appeared in survey telescopes. At first, it seemed like just another asteroid passing through. But then the data trail went silent. Webb telescope readings were blacked out. Researchers were suddenly reassigned. That isn't how science usually works. The object, now called 3I Atlas, was moving at over 150,000 kilometers per hour, faster than any comet ever recorded, and reflecting sunlight like polished steel. Its path took it past Venus, Mars, and Jupiter with uncanny precision, almost as if it were choreographed to be seen. NASA's instruments detected stable thermal signatures, unusual rotations, and hints of engineered materials. Its spin was perfectly balanced, its brightness too reflective for its size, and infrared signals pulsed with a rhythm too organized to be random. Some scientists are asking, could this be hollow? Could it be carrying a message? The silence from official channels only deepens the mystery. Why restrict data that normally would be shared immediately? Why black out pages and reassign teams? The signs point to something extraordinary, a visitor that might not be natural at all. Before we dive into the full story, make sure to subscribe to the channel and like the video, because the journey of 3I Atlas is only just beginning, and what we uncover could change everything we know about our solar system. It started as almost nothing, a faint glimmer captured on a telescope perched in the Atacama Desert of Chile, a flicker so subtle that, at first, it might have been dismissed as noise, a stray pixel on the camera sensor. But scientists noticed it. Something about the way it appeared, like a heartbeat in the endless darkness of space, refused to fit the patterns of typical cosmic debris. Initially, the data seemed mundane. Speed, rotation, trajectory. Nothing in these early readings screamed extraordinary. It could have been just another interstellar rock wandering aimlessly through the void, a natural visitor on its lonely journey between the stars. Then, slowly, the details began to peel back layers of impossibility. This was no ordinary asteroid, no casual wanderer from another system. Its brightness didn't fluctuate like ice or stone. Instead, it gleamed like polished metal, reflecting sunlight with an intensity that seemed almost purposeful. Even at millions of kilometers away, the object, soon named 3I Atlas, caught the attention of every instrument trained on it. Light seemed to bounce off flat surfaces in deliberate angles, edges catching the sun like a machine revealing itself. For the first time, scientists didn't just see an object, they saw something designed to be observed. Then came the real shock. Atlas wasn't moving chaotically like most natural objects. Comets spin and tumble unpredictably, asteroids drift along erratic paths. Atlas, however, moved with precise, deliberate motion, faster than any comet ever recorded, its trajectory carefully carved through the solar system. Telescopes captured a symmetrical rotation, thermal readings that were stable to an almost impossible degree, and infrared emissions arranged in patterns too orderly to be natural. Every measurement hinted at intelligence, at planning, at purpose. And yet, as this revelation unfolded, the world outside the observatories was being shut out. FOAS reports went dark, pages of research were blacked out, and key scientists were suddenly reassigned without explanation. An almost cinematic silence descended. Humanity had glimpsed something unprecedented, something that didn't just passively drift by. It seemed alive in design, with a path deliberately chosen. What made it truly unsettling wasn't the object itself, but where it was headed. Its course was precise, its speed unnerving, and the pattern of its spin almost tauntingly perfect. It was as if the universe, or something beyond it, was sending a message, and the first observers of this silent cosmic visitor were the only ones able to see it. And as the night sky held its breath, the world below remained blissfully unaware, waiting for the story to unfold. As 3i Atlas plunged deeper into the inner solar system, the first whispers of deliberate intelligence became impossible to ignore. What had initially seemed like a lucky alignment or a quirk of observation now revealed itself as something far more disturbing. Patterns that defied every expectation of natural motion. Its course was not chaotic, not random, but calculated with the precision of a cosmic architect. Every acceleration, every tilt, every reflective glint of light seemed premeditated. Atlas swept past Venus, Mars, and Jupiter with an elegance that made astronomers gasp. Its trajectory was almost choreographed, brushing against planetary gravities in arcs so clean they seemed like stepping stones deliberately placed across the solar system. Observers quickly realized that no asteroid or comet behaved in this way. Physics might dictate the motion of natural bodies, but Atlas moved as if it knew exactly where it was going and exactly who was watching. The anomalies didn't stop at trajectory. Its rotation was unnerving in its perfection. Most comets and asteroids tumble through space erratically, wobbling as they reflect light unevenly. Atlas, however, spun with symmetrical precision, its surfaces catching the sunlight in a steady, almost mechanical rhythm. And the composition, added another layer of mystery. Carbon signatures suggested unnatural layering. Metallic glints sparkled far brighter than rock or ice should allow. And every measurement of surface reflectivity contradicted what we knew about interstellar debris. Every data point whispered the same haunting possibility. This was not a natural object. Astronomers were unnerved, not just by its physical anomalies, but by the implications. Here was an object moving through our solar system with purpose, almost as if a cosmic artisan had constructed it for our observation. Its brilliance seemed designed to catch our telescopes, to provoke attention, to test whether humanity was paying enough attention to notice. And the deeper researchers looked, the more they realized that the message might not be in the object itself, but in the act of observing it. The trails it left across instruments, the exact timings of each reflection, the subtle thermal pulses, these were clues in a puzzle too intricate to be accidental. It was a performance, a deliberate choreography, unfolding in real time. Humanity had not simply stumbled upon a wandering rock from another star. We were witnessing a cosmic act of communication, or perhaps even evaluation. And as Atlas carved its way closer to the inner planets, the sense of unease grew. The first hint of deliberate design was no longer subtle. It was undeniable. Something, somewhere, had set this object in motion with intent, and the more scientists realized, the more they understood that the universe had become an arena for a silent, intelligent performance. The most disturbing part wasn't the brilliance or the rotation or even the trajectory. It was the implication that someone or something had orchestrated it to be observed. And as observers struggled to grasp the scale of what they were witnessing, the lines between science and speculation blurred. Humanity was not merely watching the sky, it was being watched in return, tested, measured, and perhaps manipulated in ways no one yet fully understood. It was at this moment, as the solar system itself seemed to hold its breath, that the first unspoken question arose among astronomers and engineers alike. If this movement was deliberate and its structure engineered, what exactly was Atlas trying to teach us or warn us before it disappeared beyond our observational reach? From here, the investigation could no longer be framed as routine observation. Every telescope turned toward Atlas became a window into something larger, stranger, and far more intelligent than humanity had ever encountered. And as the realization sank in, a chilling truth emerged. The universe was no longer random. It was deliberately, disturbingly precise. And it was this realization, this creeping unease, that set the stage for the next layer of mystery. Because if the path and structure of Atlas were deliberate, the next question became unavoidable. Was it trying to communicate something through its movements, or merely testing our perception? That question would lead seamlessly into the investigation of its possible signals, the hidden codes, the pulses of infrared, the thermal signatures that hinted at intelligence, and the terrifying possibility that Atlas was far more than a visitor. By mid-July, the faint, mesmerizing streak of Three-Eye Atlas had shifted from a peculiar anomaly into a full-blown scientific mystery. Observatories worldwide, including the James Webb Space Telescope, were now trained on its every motion, and the data streaming back defied every expectation. What caught astronomers off guard first were its thermal emissions. Unlike comets or asteroids, which emit heat irregularly due to sunlight exposure, sublimation, or rotation, Atlas displayed rhythmic, almost orchestrated pulses of warmth, steady and deliberate. Each pulse followed a pattern that seemed too precise to be random, a heartbeat embedded in stone, ice, or whatever material constituted its alien form. And yet, there was no comet tail, no dust scattering, no chaotic outgassing to explain the movement, no familiar physics to anchor its behaviors. Its reflections were mechanical in precision, and infrared sensors detected signals that were organized and patterned, almost as if someone or something were aware that humanity was watching. It was not simply passing through, it was performing. Scientists began whispering to one another in hushed tones. Could it be hollow? Could the structure itself be artificially designed, its surface engineered for observation? Could these thermal pulses and light reflections actually constitute a message, or perhaps a test, to see if we were perceptive enough to notice? The questions fueled a growing frenzy in the online scientific community. Independent astronomers mapped every subtle fluctuation, every near pass to planets, and every flicker of brightness. Every movement, every glint, every calculated reflection hinted at awareness, almost as if the object were tracking observers rather than the sun, measuring how closely we watched it. Patterns that might have been dismissed in natural objects were now scrutinized as potential intelligence signatures. The more the object was observed, the more it seemed to respond, not actively in real time, but in ways that suggested its motions and properties were designed to provoke a reaction. Speculation surged across forums and academic discussions alike. The idea that a natural object could appear purpose-built to be visible, reflective, symmetrical, and radiant across millions of kilometers seemed impossible. Something had engineered this, an artifact of deliberate design, not the random outcomes of cosmic collisions or gravitational chaos. And the terrifying implication was unavoidable. If this object was artificial, then we were not simply observers. We were participants in an experiment conducted across the vast emptiness of space. The notion that Atlas might be a test or a message changed the conversation from curiosity to alarm. Was it probing our technology, our observational skill, our awareness of subtle cosmic patterns? Could it be measuring our reaction, gauging whether humanity was ready for what might come next? These were no longer idle hypotheses. They were questions that kept scientists awake at night, aware that the stakes extended far beyond academic curiosity. The very possibility that someone or something had intentionally designed an interstellar object to interact with us in a deliberate, measurable way challenged everything we thought we knew about our place in the universe. As Atlas continued its journey, glowing, pulsing, and reflecting with precision across the inner solar system, a haunting realization settled over the community. The object might not just be a visitor, it might be a mirror, showing us our own limitations and our readiness for contact with intelligence beyond Earth. And if this was true, the next revelation could arrive without warning. The lines between observation and interaction blurred, and humanity's understanding of reality teetered on the edge of profound uncertainty. The story was no longer just about an interstellar object. It was about us being watched, measured, and perhaps tested, and every decision, every observation, every calculation suddenly felt fragile in the face of a force or intelligence moving deliberately through our solar system. And as astronomers debated, plotted, and panicked quietly behind closed doors, the true question emerged. Was Atlas merely testing us, or was it preparing for something far more consequential? And as the pulses continued, steady and unnerving, there was a creeping sense that the next chapter, the next cosmic move, would leave humanity scrambling, unprepared, and staring into a reality far stranger than anyone could have imagined. It was here, at this precise unfolding, that the story demanded a deeper look at the official silence and secrecy surrounding Atlas, setting the stage for what would come next. By the time the implications of Three-Eye Atlas became undeniable, the world should have been in uproar. Ordinarily, discoveries of this magnitude, an interstellar object moving faster than any known comet, pulsing with thermal signals, reflecting light in impossible ways, would trigger immediate action. Telescopes would be aimed, press conferences held, data sets shared openly for scientists to analyze. This is how humanity studies the cosmos, how we peel back the veil of the universe piece by piece. But Atlas broke every rule. The flow of information abruptly halted. Pages of reports went black, as if someone had wielded a cosmic eraser. Observatories that had been streaming data around the clock suddenly reported maintenance, cutting off access to live feeds. Researchers who had devoted months to tracking the object found themselves reassigned to unrelated projects, their work suddenly deemed internal and restricted. Requests to examine raw telescope readings were denied, replaced with pre-processed summaries that masked the most intriguing details. Official explanations were vague, almost rehearsed, like a mechanical loop designed to placate without enlightening. It was as though the very existence of Atlas and the secrets it might contain had become classified. Outside government channels, astronomers and enthusiasts struggled to piece together what was happening. Independent observers tracked the object, noting anomalies in brightness, thermal readings, and trajectory, but each attempt to confirm a pattern was blocked by layers of digital and bureaucratic obfuscation. Transparency requests returned mountains of heavily redacted documents, pages blacked out except for meaningless headers and footnotes. Any attempt to compare data across agencies was thwarted by access restrictions, technical lockdowns, and cryptic notices of internal review. The message was clear. Humanity was being kept at arm's length from this interstellar visitor, and the silence itself was chilling. It spoke louder than any press release ever could. It suggested control, strategy, and even fear. Fear of what the public might realize if the full truth emerged. Was Atlas merely a natural anomaly, a wandering rock from another star, or was it something more deliberate, something intelligent? Every withheld document, every restricted feed, every reassignment hinted at answers that were considered too dangerous, too disruptive, or too extraordinary to share openly. The speculation outside official channels escalated rapidly. Online forums and independent research groups debated feverishly. Could Atlas be a probe? A message from another civilization? A harbinger of something beyond human comprehension? Each possibility was unsettling, each scenario darker than the last, and yet, despite the uncertainty, a creeping realization spread among the most dedicated observers. Atlas was not just unusual, it was extraordinary, and someone, somewhere, was deliberately keeping us in the dark about it. The official silence did more than frustrate curiosity. It amplified it. Every blocked report, every reassignment, every redacted page became proof that Atlas was too significant, too anomalous, too intelligent to be left in the open. Humanity's instinct to observe, to question, and to explore had collided with an impenetrable wall of secrecy, and that wall, in itself, carried a message. Something about this object was considered potentially destabilizing, perhaps even threatening, and those in control were preparing for the consequences of revealing its true nature. As the world struggled to understand why the very agencies tasked with space observation were shutting doors instead of opening them, a pattern began to emerge. Atlas was not just moving through our solar system, it was moving through our awareness, shaping what we could see and what we could not. The deliberate obstruction only made the object's presence more urgent, more unnerving, and as observers pieced together the fragments of what could be known, one thought grew impossible to ignore. If Atlas's trajectory, brightness, and emissions were deliberate, then the secrecy surrounding it could only mean one thing. Someone or something was aware of its significance and was choosing what humanity could and could not perceive. The tension was palpable, a silent crescendo building across continents, laboratories, and newsrooms. Humanity had glimpsed the impossible, but the first taste of the object's true nature remained locked behind a wall of control. And it was this carefully orchestrated silence that set the stage for the next terrifying chapter, the moment when Atlas drew close to the inner planets, brushing past them in ways that suggested purpose, precision, and perhaps even intent. With every blacked-out page, every restricted observation, and every muted press statement, the story transitioned from scientific mystery into a global question of readiness, secrecy, and panic. Atlas was no longer just an interstellar anomaly. It had become a mirror of human limitation, a test of perception, and a harbinger of escalating tension that would soon reach its peak.